Hey guys, it's Derek. Welcome back to my channel. It's been 4 months since I last gave you an update regarding the Tesla Model 3 that I ordered, and I thought I'd just bring you up to speed on what's been going on and what's been happening over the last 4 months whilst I've been waiting for this car. I was hoping that at some point I'd be able to bring you some exciting news about my Tesla, but unfortunately things seem to have not moved as quickly as I'd hoped. As we all know, there's been a global pandemic, there's been interruptions to supply chains. Shanghai, where the Model 3s, the right-hand drive Model 3s are built and shipped to Australia. The Shanghai factory has been closed for a little bit and there's been issues there as well. So in a nutshell, I've received no updates from Tesla except on their app. Unfortunately, it's moved from 5 to 7 months and the latest update on the app says sometime between August and October. Now, I'm not even sure where they're coming up with this sort of information from, and from what I've read, the only way that you can tell that there's been any progress is that you've got to be assigned a VIN, and so far I've not been assigned a VIN, and I'm not sure when it's going to happen. The downside of all this is that, as you probably know from my last video, that my current car is on a novated lease, and the novated lease actually ends next week. I was hoping to have timed it in a way that I could get the lease done and have the exchange where I just traded in my old car and picked up the Tesla, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen because there's no car, and that leaves me with a number of options which I've pondered over in the last week or two, and I think I've finally come to a conclusion. It's not the conclusion that I wanted, but I don't think there's any choice. Now, when you have a novated lease, you set a certain number of years, and in this case I chose 4 years. So at the end of the lease period, most people just trade in their car and get a new car. That's what I plan to do, but there's kind of now a sort of a interim period where the lease is over and the new car's not available, and I'm not in a position where I can just get rid of this car because then I'd have no car to drive to work. So I really have very little choice but to actually pay off the balloon for this car. Then it becomes my car, and when the Tesla becomes available, then I can just trade it in like you would any other car and hopefully recoup the money that I paid as a balloon. I did explore the possibility of extending the novated lease, but the way it's structured, it turns out to be really expensive. Now, I was given the option of extending the lease by 3 months. For some reason, which I kind of have trouble understanding, but the guy explained it to me, is that if I extend it for 3 months, that's all fine. However, if Tesla for some reason calls you tomorrow and says your car's available, you can't just end the lease and you have to actually continue for the whole 3 months. So in that sense, you actually have to lease 2 cars. And the other thing is, when I got the quote for extending the lease for 3 months, it turned out that the repayments was almost double what I'm currently paying. Now, I couldn't understand that, and basically the reason for that, as I've been explained, is that the government, in terms of the balloon payment thing, I don't understand. So in that 3 months, the balloon payment goes down significantly. So I'm actually paying off the car pretty much over the next 3 months anyhow. It just seemed like too much hassle, so I've just decided just to pay off the car. It now becomes mine after next week. The downside to that is you can no longer do any of the salary sacrifice. You can't actually claim fuel and rego and all that kind of stuff pre-tax anymore because the lease is over. But it seemed like the least hassle of all the possibilities or all the options, and I'm just going to have to go with it. And besides, there's been so much else going on in my life right now that I haven't really had much time to think about this car, although it would be really nice to get it, especially considering the fuel prices are so expensive. I've been paying like $2.40 per litre for fuel in this car, and it cost me like $120 a week. It would be good to be able to have an electric car, but that's not going to happen in the short term. Now, for those of you who are wondering how this all works in the situation that I find myself in right now, is that I just pay off the residual or the balloon payment to the finance company. The car becomes mine. The lease that I have set up for the Tesla just sits and waits until the Tesla arrives. My option then is I can either trade the car into Tesla, I can sell it privately, or I can trade it in through the novated leasing company, and they will offer me what I guess is what they call a fair price, and I have to make a decision then. Now, there is the option in my lease currently that you can have this residual protection thing where if your car doesn't sell for the minimum amount that is the market value, the insurance covers it. That obviously lapses as I end the lease. It's kind of just like a gamble, how much you can get when you trade in or sell your car. And in this current environment, it seems like cars are actually a very valuable commodity. In fact, if you were actually to own a Model 3 right now and you sold it, you could make easily a 10% profit immediately. That's how short of cars we are at the moment. So we're just going to see what happens. In terms of any other preparation for the car, I haven't really done much. I've been just looking at the Tesla forum, and I've also downloaded this app called PlugShare. And this is an app which kind of tells you where the superchargers and the chargers are and whether they're working or not. So it's a community-based thing. So I'll definitely be using that when I finally get my car. I've seen a lot of charging places which I never noticed before because I guess I'm now concentrating on it. And I've just figured out that, recently we went on a road trip down the south coast, and I kind of imagined myself as to how many times I would have to charge the car if I was to have done that trip in an electric vehicle. And I feel like that I could probably be okay with it. I know it's going to take another 20 minutes or so. As long as you don't have to line up, it'd take about 20 minutes to fill up the car, but you could easily, have something to eat, go to the bathroom, go for a walk, and the car would be ready and charged. I hope that won't be an issue, but I guess you'll never know until we get the car and experience all the joys of having to find somewhere to plug it in. So that's it. That's just a quick update on what's happening with my Tesla Model 3, which in fact is nothing. And since I last spoke to you regarding Teslas, the Model Y has been released in Australia, but I don't think you can get that for a while either. And I read somewhere the other day on the internet that Tesla was even thinking of scaling back the number of colors that were available just to speeding up the production because they're so far behind in their orders at the moment that they can't keep up, and the demand's so high that I think they were going to limit it to white and black and get rid of all the other colors, which would be disappointing because all the other cars would look the same. But, that's not my problem anymore, and I just going to sit here and wait patiently until the Tesla arrives. And I've made no plans of what I'm going to do with this car at this point. I haven't sorted out any of the charging stuff. I haven't sorted out anything, but I'll have plenty of time for that. It is what it is. So until next time, have a great weekend. I'll catch you next time in another video. See ya.